Professor Dean here with your new life lessons. I was not always the greatest student, but I loved learning. And I always wondered, are there other people out there like me? And yeah, the answer is yeah. As throughout all the years of teaching at School of Rock, I realized that there are so many people like me. And now a lot of that is really focused in the musical creative aspect, right? And continuing on my career has showed me that there are in fact a lot of people like me. But even throughout this industry or throughout this aspect of life, right? I think about everything in my life revolved around music. For me, that's the thing that I attached with, and that's the thing that allows me to justify all of my other interests, from everything from space to mathematics and whatever. All of the, like, I was always good at science in school because I had really good science teachers. And I was talking with someone about this the other day. Like, I conquered some of my hardest classes in high school and failed some of my easiest ones. And I wondered why. So for a while, I've been working on this new curriculum that I'm currently calling the philosophy of music theory. Everybody teaches you the hows to do things. Everybody shows you how to play a scale. Everyone shows you how to play this arpeggio. Everyone shows you how to play this lick. How to this, how to that. That's what, like, most of YouTube's algorithm. All right. But what about the why? How about why do you do this? Why do you do that? There's that other aspect to it. Anytime you hear the example as why you are to do something in music, it always comes around with some theoretical jargon, all based upon what others have done. And I really struggled for a long time to learn music theory. I'm self-taught. I learned through books. I learned through the streets. I learned by asking friends, other musicians. I had no lessons with anyone ever. It's not that I never wanted lessons. I used to call people in advertisements of the Aquarian Weekly magazine from New Jersey. And it was a music magazine, a music newspaper that was based in New Jersey. And I used to call those guitar teachers, and they always treated you like you were less than whenever you called them. I would talk about things that I was doing and I was really proud of, and I was being self-taught, and I was just treated like nothing I did was special. There's this whole elitist attitude. So I have been grinding away for over 25 years to learn music theory. And halfway through that journey, I became a teacher, which was scary as hell to me because I thought I knew so much, but really, I realized there was so much that I didn't know. And throughout the years of being a teacher, I've had to constantly push myself to be ahead of my students. Now, I'm not ahead of all of my students. There are a handful of students that have surpassed me and gone on to things like Berklee Music or whatever, or surpassed me in some aspects. But that doesn't mean that my experience hasn't given me something of an area to guide them, right? So sometimes when I get a student, I've had to be creative. If the student can do a faster arpeggio than me, okay, you're really good at that. What else can we work on? Along these years of teaching, I developed what I called the Dean's List. And now the Dean's List, it's what I was originally going to call my life lessons blog. Throughout all the years of teaching, I wound up noticing that I was repeating certain things over and over to students. Over the years, I just started writing them down. And I call them my rules. In my experience, rules are made to be broken. So I would like you to consider these guidelines. The very first one, rule number 1, is don't forget to have fun. That being said, the road to fun does take some hard work, but your approach is unique to you. And if you're approaching something that is hard, figure out how to make that hard thing fun, right? Doesn't matter if you're studying for a test, doesn't matter if you're learning a musical scale, you have to remember to have fun. Some of the great ways that I've learned how to have fun when I was trying to learn something that was above my abilities, I would try and learn parts of the riff again, it's all going to be music. I would try and learn parts of a guitar riff. I would maybe turn that into something that I like for myself, like take an idea from a lick and turn it into an original song. If you're in the beginning of a creative process, you are going to push yourself further and further. And if you're trying to recreate an original sound in vein of this thing that you liked, odds are you're still going to learn most of those techniques. I've never been a big proponent for learning someone else's guitar solo note for note. It's not that I've never learned any, but I absolutely do shy away from it because that's that person's voice. There are so many YouTube videos nowadays where in the style of or in the vein of. I love those videos so much more. Someone like Andy James got so famous, like solos in the style of John Petrucci. I remember those videos. I remember watching those videos. They were not John Petrucci's solos. They were solos in the style of. Now, maybe in that case, he did learn John Petrucci's solos and then rewrite it in his own way. But what if you didn't? You can still learn those notes. You can still see those bends. You still have to learn a little bit of it, right? You just don't necessarily have to learn the entire thing. Your journey in musical theory is a lot like The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy got transported out of her comfort zone. She went to this strange area. It was unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar customs, right? Things looked different. Things sounded different. The rules were different over the rainbow, right? Along the way, Dorothy comes across the Tin Man. Well, the Tin Man needed something from Dorothy. He needed oil. So she oiled him. He then in turn became an instrumental tool in her journey. Same thing can be said for every character that Dorothy comes across. Those people, those characters, are found at rock concerts or jazz bars. You can always find a musician that can help you get oil, right? The most important thing about how the Tin Man got oil is he asked for it, right? This is going to be its own other lesson, but you know how you get things in life? You ask, right? If it's something that's out of your ability, you ask someone to help you. You ask for something. That's the rule for endorsements. You know how many endorsements and free things I've gotten just because I sent an email or a text message saying, hey, can we work together? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how easy it really is if you just open your mouth. So along Dorothy's journey, she felt stuck. She felt trapped. It was those people she met along the way that helped her get through it. And then before you know it, one day you'll be the one giving the oil for your future Tin Man. All along the way, you have to remember, don't forget to have fun. And there's so much fun in when you're trying to learn music, go to a concert, talk with someone, be a human, have a great time. I always had this philosophy of when I went out to concerts, I would try and see whoever, if I ever got backstage, right? The mythical backstage. If I ever got back there, what would I do? And I always thought to myself, you have to have at least one question. That one question may be hard. Most people have a very broad question. What would you tell someone coming up? That's too broad. Think of specific questions for you. One of the questions that I would ask when I would get backstage, I would ask for advice on how to find band members. And I remember Steve Zing telling me, go to a show, and when you see a drummer on stage, you steal him. Everybody's got multiple projects, so it's no big thing. Most musicians have more than one band. Some local bands have an issue with sharing members, but most of the time, most don't. As long as you schedule it so that way it doesn't conflict, you can do whatever you want. And honestly, if your project is better than theirs, well then, someone might have to make a choice somewhere. But everybody always goes to where there's prosperity. So if you guys are working hard and you're doing good, it's not really going to be that big of a deal if this dude has to cancel a show or two so you can go on tour. The band will be upset, but they'll get over it until they have to tour, and then you're going to have to work that out, right? But communication is key in those scenarios. But I used to ask my own question. how do I find band members? And I was told, you see a drummer you like, steal him. You see a guitar player you like, steal him. And now I always went to local shows. That was most of my show going experience, were VFW halls or small venues like Dingbats or whatever. All spots where the bands aren't the biggest bands in the world. It's not Kiss or whatever, but there were like Randy Blythe. I saw Periphery on their first tour. You can find your future greats at a small club. And if those people are really good, ask them if they'll work with you. Everybody loves a collab, especially nowadays. Back in the day, it was so much harder. The internet was not of the speed of this. So you can email songs back and forth. So if you see a drummer you like, you could be like, hey, man, I got this guitar demo. Can I send it to you and see if you have any ideas? Who knows? All you have to do is ask. So that's rule number 1. Don't forget to have fun. I'm going to keep doing more of these videos. And right now I have 22 rules of repeating good ideas or good things that have come from inspirations around. I hope you enjoy them. And remember, don't forget to have fun.